Main Quotes presents Karl Marx's Secret Quotes. If anything is certain, it is that I myself am not a Marxist. From each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs. We should not say that one man's hour is worth another man's hour, but rather that one man during an hour is worth just as much as another man during an hour. Time is everything, man is nothing. He is at the most time's carcass. The meaning of peace is the absence of opposition to socialism. While the miser is merely a capitalist gone mad, the capitalist is a rational miser. Landlords, like all other men, love to reap where they never sowed. For the bureaucrat, the world is a mere object to be manipulated by him. Revolutions are the locomotives of history. The writer must earn money in order to be able to live and to write, but he must by no means live and write for the purpose of making money. The ideas of the ruling class are in every epoch the ruling ideas, i.e., the class which is the ruling material force of society is at the same time its ruling intellectual force. The rich will do anything for the poor but get off their backs. Machines were, it may be said, the weapon employed by the capitalists to quell the revolt of specialized labor. The production of too many useful things results in too many useless people. Nothing can have value without being an object of utility. In bourgeois society, capital is independent and has individuality, while the living person is dependent and has no individuality. The history of all previous societies has been the history of class struggles. Democracy is the road to socialism. History repeats itself, first as tragedy, second as farce. Art is always and everywhere the secret confession and at the same time the immortal movement of its time. The writer may very well serve a movement of history as its mouthpiece, but he cannot, of course, create it. It is absolutely impossible to transcend the laws of nature. What can change in historically different circumstances is only the form in which these laws expose themselves. The country that is more developed industrially only shows, to the less developed, the image of its own future. Without doubt, machinery has greatly increased the number of well-to-do idlers. Capital is money. Capital is commodities. By virtue of it being value, it has acquired the occult ability to add value to itself. It brings forth living offspring, or, at the least, lays golden eggs. The product of mental labor, science, always stands far below its value, because the labor time necessary to reproduce it has no relation at all to the labor time required for its original production. Men's ideas are the most direct emanations of their material state. The more the division of labor and the application of machinery extend, the more does competition extend among the workers, the more do their wages shrink together. Reason has always existed, but not always in a reasonable form. Natural science will in time incorporate into itself the science of man, just as the science of man will incorporate into itself natural science. There will be one science. The first requisite for the happiness of the people is the abolition of religion. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people. The development of civilization and industry in general has always shown itself so active in the destruction of forests that everything that has been done for their conservation and production is completely insignificant in comparison. The human being is in the most literal sense a political animal, not merely a gregarious animal, but an animal which can individuate itself only in the midst of society. Medicine heals doubts as well as diseases. Workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains. Religion is the opium of the masses. Society does not consist of individuals, but expresses the sum of interrelations, the relations within which these individuals stand. The only antidote to mental suffering is physical pain. Religion is the impotence of the human mind to deal with occurrences it cannot understand. A commodity appears at first sight, an extremely obvious, trivial thing. But its analysis brings out that it is a very strange thing, abounding in metaphysical subtleties and theological niceties. Capitalist production, therefore, develops technology and the combining together of various processes into a social whole only by sapping the original sources of all wealth, the soil and the laborer. Greek philosophy seems to have met with something with which a good tragedy is not supposed to meet, namely, a dull ending. Let the ruling classes tremble at a communist revolution. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains. They have a world to win. Working men of all countries, unite. The English have all the material requisites for the revolution. What they lack is the spirit of generalization and revolutionary ardor. In a higher phase of communist society, only then can the narrow horizon of bourgeois right be fully left behind and society inscribe on its banners, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. Anyone who knows anything of history knows that great social changes are impossible without feminine upheaval. Social progress can be measured exactly by the social position of the fair sex, the ugly ones included. It is not history which uses men as a means of achieving, as if it were an individual person, its own ends. History is nothing but the activity of men in pursuit of their ends. Capital is reckless of the health or length of life of the laborer, unless under compulsion from society. There is a specter haunting Europe, the specter of communism. Experience praises the most happy, the one who made the most people happy. The theory of communism may be summed up in one sentence: abolish all private property. History does nothing. It does not possess immense riches. It does not fight battles. It is men, real living, who do all this. On a level plain, simple mounds look like hills, and the insipid flatness of our present bourgeoisie is to be measured by the altitude of its great intellects. Capital is dead labor, which, vampire-like, lives only by sucking living labor, and lives the more labor it sucks. A specter is haunting Europe, the specter of communism. Necessity is blind until it becomes conscious. Freedom is the consciousness of necessity. The ruling ideas of each age have ever been the ideas of its ruling class. The worker of the world has nothing to lose, but their chains. Workers of the world, unite. Social progress can be measured by the social position of the female sex. My object in life is to dethrone God and destroy capitalism. This young lady who instantly overwhelmed me with her kindness is the ugliest creature I have seen in my entire life, with repulsive Jewish facial features. The full man does not understand the wants of the hungry. The last capitalist we hang shall be the one who sold us the rope. The Jews of Poland are the smeariest of all races. The existence of the state is inseparable from the existence of slavery. Accumulation of wealth at one pole is at the same time accumulation of misery, agony, of toil, slavery, ignorance, brutality, mental degradation at the opposite pole. A people without a heritage are easily persuaded. When the sufferers learn to think, then the thinkers will learn to suffer. Money is the alienated essence of man's work and existence. This essence dominates him, and he worships it. I do not like money. Money is the reason we fight. Taxes are the source of life for the bureaucracy, the army and the court, in short, for the whole apparatus of the executive power. Strong government and heavy taxes are identical. Catch a man a fish, and you can sell it to him. Teach a man to fish, and you ruin a wonderful business opportunity. History repeats itself, the first as tragedy, then as farce. Social progress can be measured exactly by the social position of the fair sex. May the devil take these people's movements, especially when they are peaceful. The unity is brought about by force. Every provisional political setup following a revolution requires a dictatorship, and an energetic dictatorship at that. The task is not just to understand the world, but to change it. It is not the consciousness of men that determines their being, but, on the contrary, their social being that determines their consciousness. The democratic concept of man is false because it is Christian. The democratic concept holds that each man is a sovereign being. This is the illusion, dream, and postulate of Christianity. Do not be deluded by the abstract word freedom. Whose freedom? Not the freedom of one individual in relation to another, but freedom of capital to crush the worker. Man makes religion. Religion does not make man. We have no compassion, and we ask no compassion from you. When our turn comes, we shall not make excuses for the terror. The education of all children, from the moment that they can get along without a mother's care, shall be in state institutions. If you can cut the people off from their history, then they can be easily persuaded. Keep people from their history, and they are easily controlled. There is no greater stupidity than for people to marry and so surrender themselves to the small miseries of domestic and private life. There must be something rotten in the very core of a social system which increases its wealth without diminishing its misery. All history is nothing but a continuous transformation of human nature. Last words are for those fools who believe they have not yet said enough.